Hey, what's going on, everyone? Kyle here with Variety and Airs on a lovely Saturday, and we are going to go through a pile of money. So, what do we do on this channel? Basically, we talk about paper currencies. So, sometimes we cover coins and other collectibles and stuff like that, but primarily we go through pocket change, more specifically, my pocket change. See if we can find things worth more than face value. So, let's start right off with a 2013 Series $1 note. So you're probably thinking to yourself, if you don't watch this channel, you're like, what the heck are you talking about, dude? Well, when you go through your pocket change, there's lots of things that make your US banknotes, or, well, any banknote for that matter, but in this case, US banknotes, worth more than the face value. So in this case, $1. Some of those things would be patterns in the serial numbers, issues with the ink on the bill, how it's cut, or how it's printed on the bill if it's in alignment or not, as well as a few other factors we'll cover as we go through them. So on this 2013 series, one thing to look for on 2013 series notes is that a lot of them are going to have an over ink on the third digit. This one's a little bit of an oddball since it does not have it. You'll see them go for sale a lot online. Those over ink third digits, they're not worth anything. In this case, this is your standard printing of a serial number. Another thing to look for on ones in general is shifts in the seals as well as the serial numbers. This would be a second print shift since bills go through a multi-printing process. And some of the bill is printed on the material used for the paper, some is printed within the material. Anywho, these spots and dots here are actually just water damage. So it's not something that you would, it's not something that would be caused by an ink issue. Got a little bit of staining of pink, so somebody spilled something on there. Like I said, looks like water damage on the other side. This is a date note, so birthday notes are going to be obviously a date that someone could be born in that's still alive, or at least a relative date to current day. So the year 725 is, of course, not a birthday note. Well, somebody was born then, but not a current birthday. This would be February 8th, 725. I really enjoy history, so that's a lot of things. I enjoy the history behind money. And so in the serial number, when I come across a date, I like to put it in the description box below if anything important happened on that date. Aside from that, this is a newer $20 bill. It's 2013. There is 2017 bills, albeit we don't see them as readily as we do 2013s for any denomination of US banknote. They only changed around a few things with the 20 in the early 2000s when they redesigned it. Aside from that, I don't see anything else really jumping out at me here. We got some excess ink here. This is most likely from a marker or a counter stamp. It's not a tone of ink that's used in a $20 bill, so it's not an error there. But we'll hold on to it. I'll put it in the description box, that date. Pretty good repetitions of 2s, 7s, and 8s, but we got a 9 holding in there. Now, if there was not a 9 in there on this 2017 note, then we'd have a trinary. So 2 8s and 7s is a trinary. I call those more collectible than valuable. Most trinaries, and I do say most, do not cause any increase in value. Now, one thing to show here is there is a slight shift in the seal on this note, but it is still sitting on the all three letters of 1. I would say if it's dramatic enough of a shift where it's not touching the E or the O, if it's shifted to the right, then that would be an actual print shift. I'd hold on to that. Nevertheless, nothing here. There's that over ink on the third digit. As you can see, it doesn't transpose down there. So it's very common to get that over ink where it's a heavy set 7 in this case. Aside from that, nothing on the front of the bill. Little bit of damage there on the back. Got some good writing here as usual. Can't really read that. Hamaya H. Alright. Well, if you're a person and you're out there and you're watching this, thank you for writing on this $5 note and defacing it. But anyway, that's really common. A lot of people write on stuff more so in numbers as they count up their money, of course. You might be guilty of it as well. A little bit older bill, 2009. Not anything special in the serial number here, so there's no pattern there. A little bit of shifting in the seal, but nothing crazy. You'll see usually these sit right around this area. Sometimes you'll see a shift in this black Federal Reserve Bank. I'm sorry, Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, Illinois in this case, seal. But it usually doesn't correspond with any shifts in the seals and serial numbers from this side of the bill. $2013 doesn't have that. Well, there it goes. So sometimes you'll see the over ink down here on the bottom left-hand serial number, but in this case, like we said, that's common. 2013. This one's actually, you know, there are a couple that I do hold on to. This is not the case, but a couple that I do hold on to that do have that over-inked third digit, but if it's just ridiculously pronounced or very heavy, like this one's cutting it close. But like I said, it's very common, so don't be fooled online buying an over-ink error for a few bucks over $1 even, when it is $1, because it's just not worth that. Here we go, good repetition. This kind of alludes back to what I was talking about earlier. So this is a good trinary here. Would have been nice if we would have had one more 9 here, because then we would have had bookends of 2020, but nevertheless, still a good trinary. Not the greatest, but pretty good. So 2 zeros and 9s. Like I said, unless it's, I mean, if it would have had that block 9s in the middle with 2 0 on either end, I would really call it a little bit above face value there. But in this case, I'd say it's more collectible. But I do like trinaries, so I'll hold on to that. 2013 series, very beat up. As you know, condition has a lot to do with value of anything. In this case, if there's nothing else on here, it's still worth $1, which is great. But if it were collectible, that damage, this double fold here, would really detract from the value, if any, over face value. Nothing here. Lots of 2013s. That's probably the most readily seen ones. And now that I mentioned earlier that we don't see a lot of 2017s, seems like there is a few in this batch. It's the only one that has a signature that's in print. So that's the only real difference, is the change of offices here at the bottom. Aside from that, the $1 note has not changed since 1957, when they added "In God We Trust." Got a little bit of ink blotching here, but like that, as you can see really close to the camera there, it's not a tone of ink that's used on the remainder of the bill. 5s are probably, redesigned 5s probably my favorite of the redesigns. Overall for U.S. banknote. Thought I had some little bit of blurring in the lettering there, but nothing to call home about. Close to another date note here, 0959. I was not going to call it, but hey. Little bit of shift in the seal here, but nothing crazy. Back of the bill. Things to look for is sometimes you'll get some issues around. There's a lot of repetition of the number 13, especially in the $1 note. But up in the wreath here with the stars, the lines on the shield, the lines on the tail of the eagle, 13 leaves on the oak cluster, 13 arrows. Sometimes you get some play around those, so you'll get a little bit of blurring between these stars here, as well as over here above where it says Novus Ordo Seclorum, where it has the Roman numerals for 1776. Not in this case, but sometimes you'll get some blurring there where it just didn't press the bill properly. Nothing crazy. I thought we had a broken ladder there. If you're interested in what different types of serial numbers to look for, I do have a video that covers all sorts of different types of serial numbers to look for. So it's a video that talks about fancy serial numbers. If you search it in my videos and just search fancy serial or fancy serial numbers, should come right up as the first video. And that'll give you a run through of, I believe, 14 or 15 different types of bills to look for. So if you're lost here and you're like, what in the world are we even doing here, Kyle? Then you can go watch that video and you'll be brought up to speed. 13 again. really here. We got a lot of little bit of ink smears, but what it looks like is the way they're sitting and the way they're dotting over the lettering there. They're kind of browned out instead of a black or a grayish ink. It's definitely damage post the bill being produced. This little blur right here is actually just a over ink from the jacket of Washington on the front. It's very common. Good repetition of 5s, 2s, 3s, and 0s. If they were clumped, I'd probably hold on to it, but in this case, they're not. This is a Series 2013A. There is a B series for this, but we haven't come across that. Pretty high serial number. It's another thing that's collectible is really low serial numbers or really high serial numbers, but in that case, it's not the upper echelon of the serial numbers for 2013 notes, so I won't really hold on to that guy. Some more writing on this $1 bill. Somebody counted up $50. That's not bad. Hey, better than I got. 2013 series note again. Let's see. Nothing really jumping out at me in the serial number, so we'll keep on keeping on. Getting down there on the bills. We only got a couple left here that we're going to go through before closing out this bill search. 2013 note. Another thing to look for, and let's get this to focus up a little better. There we go. Sometimes you'll get blurs between the actual date of the series number. I couldn't really speak right there, but the date of the series number, you can see it's a little bit of smudging on that 3 there on the upper part of the 3, but unless it's really obscured entirely, I wouldn't call it an error. Nothing there. 2006, so we got a good spattering of different series of banknotes in this bill search, so that's really cool. Last is another 5. I really like the graphics on the newer 5s. But hey, nothing on that guy. So what did we hold on to? Nothing crazy major, but a nice trinary note. Nice trinary $10 note with 2 zeros and 9s. So keep a lookout for a little bit better trinary than this. If you can get one with some clump numbers, I'd really like to see it. And then we got ourselves a date note up here with this $20 Federal Reserve note. That is February 8th, 7/25. So I will put in the description box below anything that happened that's important on that date. But otherwise, nothing too major in this bill search, but hey, any find is better than no find, and worst case, no find still means you got the money that you started with. Thank you for coming to this bill search, and I will see you in the next video. Have an awesome weekend.